Hey there, my name is ZW Buckley, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we get started, I want to ask you to subscribe to this channel if you've watched one of my videos before. Chances are you have, because the vast majority of my audience is not subscribed. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and I am so close, and I know that we can do it. So if you've watched one of my videos before and you're back for more, maybe hit subscribe and even the little bell so that you can know when the next one gets uploaded. Now, you can make great music in pretty much any DAW. Even as somebody who is very clearly all in on Ableton Live, I know the value in the other tools that are out there. Now, that being said, every DAW is known for something. For a lot of producers, FL Studio's sequencer is the sequencer. It is incredibly famous. And if you're one of those people who has desperately wanted FL Studio Step Sequencer to be in Ableton Live, well, you've actually had some options for years now. But Ableton has finally released their own FL Studio style step sequencer called Rhythmic Steps. And let me tell you, it is so good. So good. Let's jump in. Step sequencers can run the risk of feeling a bit mechanical, and to circumvent that, Rhythmic Steps has a heavy focus on probability and randomization. Now, you can manually punch in steps, and to do that, all I need to do is just click and drag in a cell and bring it all the way up. Doing so is how you set the chance that a cell will be triggered. All the way filled is 100%, all the way empty is 0. And so this would be a simple snare pattern on 2 and 4. But I almost never do that. Instead, I love using the dice here, which will just randomly generate a pattern. So let's do that for the kick. Don't like it? Hit it again. And let's do the same for the hi-hats. But if you don't want it to be so dense, there's a second die here that is simply randomize less. And I'll do the same thing for the second set of hi-hats up here. We'll make those a bit denser. And one of the cool things about Rhythmic Steps is that you can change the length of each sequence independently. So for example, I'm only going to sequence 10 steps of this first set of hi-hats, and we can see then that every other hi-hat gets grayed out. And for this top one, I will sequence only 7. This can be really cool for generating polyrhythms and other interesting patterns. Now, this focus on probability doesn't stop here. We can actually trigger the probability that an alternative cell on your drum rack will be triggered instead of the main cell that you have set for each sequence. And to do that, we're going to go over to the Alt tab. And similarly, I'm just going to hit the dice to randomize. And this continues further. You can sequence the velocity. I'm going to randomize that also. You can also introduce the probability that rolls will happen, and I tend to just do small dice rolls for that. And you can also sequence MPE data via slide. So what I have here in my drum rack is every sample is set up in an instance of drum sampler in which the mod source is slide and it's controlling the decay. So now all of my drums are going to be triggered very short. Let's focus on just the kick. But now if I introduce slide, I can lengthen the sample. And so if I introduce randomization to the slide amount, we're going to have some kicks that are longer, some kicks that are shorter. And let's go ahead and do that with every single sound and bring everything else back in. And this is the kind of thing then that I would just set a macro to control the decay amount for every single one. And if you didn't know, when you're working with a drum rack, you can just right click and map to all siblings. So now the decay for every single cell has been mapped to my first macro. So I can control the relative length that way. Rhythmic Steps is also incredibly cool for sequencing things other than drums. Now, if I go ahead and just throw it right on an instrument, it's going to kind of sound gross. Here I have a kalimba with rhythmic steps and a sequence already set up, and it sounds like this. Not the vibe I'm going for. Now, the reason for that being is that Rhythmic Steps starts sequencing everything on the note C1 to correspond with how drums are laid out in a drum rack. Now, within Rhythmic Steps, you can only change the pitch by changing which cell of a drum rack is being sequenced. However, if you run the pitch device after Rhythmic Steps with scale awareness turned on, you can then adjust the pitch of the sequence and it will always stay within scale. And it can then create something that sounds like this. Now, with a polyphonic instrument such as this, it creates a very rhythmic arpeggio. But with a monophonic instrument, something like my endless string rack, it becomes just this endless solo, which is really quite cool. And when you layer them together, it can be a really great texture. One thing I find incredibly helpful with Rhythmic Steps is to consolidate some of the functions into macros. I have consolidated the pattern length for each pattern and the number of steps for alt, slide, and rolls, as well as the overall clock speed in the timing tab into macros. And the thing that makes this very cool is that then I can just randomize the pattern. Unfortunately, you can't assign the dice rolls to a macro, or else I would have done that immediately. Ableton, if you're hearing me, update this device. Let the dice be macroizable. Thank you. And so let me show you what that actually looks like then using my instrument Late Summer Pad. Sometimes the hardest thing to do in a song is create variation over time that isn't incredibly overt. And especially if you're making ambient music, this kind of sequencing in which you can just play with these patterns and it does affect the sound, but not in a way that draws a crazy amount of attention to itself, is beyond useful. Now, you might have noticed that when I was adjusting the slide parameter, it didn't really do anything at all. And that's because a lot of devices don't necessarily have MIDI polyphonic expression baked into them yet. This instrument rack doesn't. But using one additional device called Expression Control, you can actually map a parameter on a device to be modulated by MPE parameters such as slide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to map this to the sun parameter, which adds a ton of brightness to this rack. And I'm going to go ahead then and bring up the slide amount from 0. And let me close up some of these other devices so that we can actually see what's happening with the sun macro here. And it's going to start to add these, randomized moments of intense brightness that just make the whole texture pop. Now let me go ahead and bring everything in at this point, with the exception of this 808 sub. Everything that you are hearing is sequenced using rhythmic steps, and it just is awesome. I could literally listen to that forever, but you get the idea. As I said at the top of this video, Rhythmic Steps is such a good step sequencer. Is it better than FL Studio step sequencer? I don't know about that. I don't actually think that's the valuable question to ask ultimately, because they both serve very different roles within their respective DAWs. But what I can tell you is that Rhythmic Steps is the kind of tool that reduces the friction that can come with generating creative or novel drum patterns. And as we saw, Rhythmic Steps can do so much more than just make drums. But the thing that makes Rhythmic Steps really great in my mind is that it never hides any of the process from you. It is not a black box. At any point, you can see what's going on and change and modify anything that you might have generated. And that is incredibly valuable because we are in an era of the black boxification of plugins. But that's a topic for another video and another day. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. I'm working so hard to get this channel to 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and I know that we can make it happen. Till next time.